Please, Phil, thanks for coming. I mean that. Russ, you've done a wonderful job.
Thanks, Dan.
You really are. Thanks for putting up with these young gentlemen as we age, as we get gracefully a little bit older each year. But what can you do? I had a girl knock on my door last night for 5 minutes. I'm going, what do you want? She goes, I got to tell you before I go how much I like your alligator shoes. I said, well, I'm barefooted. She says, that's why I want to go. Well, thank you very much. Well, what can we do to perk up this little event?
Well, let's tell some stories, shall we? And
We can do that.
We're going to start with
Stories? Do you have stories?
I can show
Do
you
you have a story you can tell?
John Huston, that movie with Gregory Peck called Moby Dick. You remember that movie, Moby Dick? All right, Keithway Keithway and the old man, remember the guy with the spear and he was like 8 feet tall? He was a friend of mine, and his name was Frederick Ladybird, and I met him when I lived in Europe doing a movie with William Holden, and we were talking, and I said, well, tell me something about that movie Moby Dick. He said, well, John Huston said, we launched Gregory. Early one morning, they were going to film him on the great white rubber whale, tied to that whale. He's beckoning, like this. Well, they're in the fog out in Ireland, and the cable broke off the great white rubber whale while Gregory was tied to this rubber whale, and they lost Gregory Peck for 4 hours in the Irish Sea. And they're going, oh my God, this is going to get back to Hollywood, Greg. He's beckoning. So that was one little story that I wanted to share with you that you don't hear at all. It's very, very cool.
Well, we got some interesting photos we want to get to here in a minute.
Please.
I'd like to fill in some blanks here. You're moving into Grizzly Adams, of course, which you're really on the front page. But one of the mystery questions was, how did you get involved in working with animals in the first place? And that doesn't include these two characters. I've seen how that's been.
That worked out really well. That was great. I always loved animals, and I got a line from a woman that I met by the name of Mabel Stark that was the only woman to ever train wild animals for the Barnum and Bailey Circus. She was 78 years old. And when I met her out in Dawson Oaks at Jungle Land, she was getting up there in age, and she trained her tigers and lions every Sunday. And finally she was getting to the point where the insurance wouldn't cover her anymore. And they said to her, said Tex has got to go tell her that she doesn't work her animals anymore. And when he walked out of her trailer was right across from where she kept all of her tigers, and she was just broken-hearted. And when Tex walked out of the trailer, he went across and he put his foot up on the railing to tie his shoe, and her favorite tiger reached out and pulled his leg in and bit his foot off. I thought, there you go. You shouldn't have fired Mabel. But she gave me one of her lines for $50, and I met a boy by the name of Stuart Raffle that had some animals. And we kind of combined them, and we said, well, we got to work and make some money with them. So we took our chimps, our leopards, our lions, our bears, and we went to Walt Disney and said, if you ever need anybody to do animal work, we're young and we're good and we're youthful and we can do this. So he gave us a job. We did Lieutenant Robinson Crusoe. Then I did a little movie called The Tender Warrior. And before you know it, we were working in Brazil on the Tarzan TV series, and it was just by accident that I got the TV show Grizzly Adams. They made it with another actor that they weren't crazy about, and they saw me doing a movie, and they said, well, have that boy come down here, we'd like to talk to him. And then the next thing I know, we're up in Park City, Utah, making movies called Grizzly Adams, and the rest is history, which was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed doing that. We filmed 90% of it in Park City, Utah, and then we got too deep with snow, we'd go to Ruidoso, New Mexico, Payson, Arizona, and the title shots were filmed up in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And the bear was actually a female. She played the part of a male, and the real Grizzly Adams that lived in 1879, he had a bear, and her name was Martha Washington, after George Washington's wife. And I told the studio, I said, well, I've got a female grizzly bear, we'll just call her Martha Washington. And they said, no, we can't do that. We can't have you living in the woods with a female bear. I went, wait a minute, wait, come on. This is a kid's show.
So they knew you before they hired you.
Stop it.
That's what you're telling me.
The work got out. Okay, slipped out underneath the cracks, yeah. So Lassie was a boy and played a girl. Mine was a girl and played a boy, and I don't know what I'm playing right now that I'm playing with you.
You ain't playing with me.
Well, I'm getting close. Anything else I can do for you?
Well, we did some research.
Oh my God.
Must Muscle Beach Party, or what is this, Dan? Is that you, the second in
Yeah.
from the left? That's you?
Yeah. That was Muscle Beach Party, and that was with Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon, and I played Biff, and I had to shave my legs and wax my chest. How about that?
And he hasn't shaved since.
I got a weed eater in my room. Maybe I might trim up before you come by.
Now, there's a rumor that you were kind of confused before you went in for your audition, and you thought you were going in for, I think it was called Girly Adams? Is that
The invitation's gone. Forget it.
This is a motorcycle movie called Pink Angels. This is now one of my favorite films. It was about gay bikers and straight bikers. I don't know
Which role did you play?
It doesn't matter. I went both ways. It's okay. I did the best I could. I don't know if you know what a motorcycle and a vacuum cleaner have in common.
What's that?
They both come with dirt bags.
Fun.
Thank you, Papa.
I would just pay money to see Dan Haggerty on the bench seat of a hawk.
Hey, baby, come on, walk nasty for the love bastard. Okay.
We'll move this one along right there.
Where did you find this trash? This is horrible. We're TV guys
surfing the net.
We're surfing the net. That's what I say here. Well, of course, you got Grizzly Adams. We're going to get to Denver Pile here in a minute, but let's jump over here to some of these great items.
Do you have a doll, sweetheart?
Not like your blow-up doll. No, you got the good kind.
You pinched me with a
Yes,
shot.
I have an Israel Boone doll. As a matter of fact, it's on the back table back there.
I'd like to see it. Has it got lipstick?
Yeah, you weren't seeing that either.
Okay.
You know you've made it when you've been on Family Guy, right? Is this the relationship you were talking about earlier?
There you go.
Okay.
Looks like I'm in shock. What's new?
And then how many times have you been on TV Guide, man?
Yes.
Well, how many times? I've been twice. How about you?
Well, I thought it was twice, but Dan just came up with another TV guide that it was.
Dan, you didn't have to
I think
print
that would
that.
be 3 times.
Okay.
I was not.
Yeah, two times on TV Guide. I remember, I didn't know that I was doing well on TV, and I was home on location, and I went to the market and I'm buying some tangerines, and the little girl behind the counter, she's looking at me and then looking at the TV rack and looking back at the tangerines, and she goes, "Isn't that you on the TV Guide?" And I went, "Oh my God." She goes, "Are you okay?" I didn't even know that I was on the cover of TV Guide. They kept me in shock. Anything else? You're getting
We were all shocked that you were on the cover of TV guide.
Okay, Denver Pyle you worked with, and of course he was a great character actor. Of course he was in Bonnie and Clyde.
Great guy.
Who was it? The Darling Family on the Andy Griffith Show, and of course all kinds of great stuff.
Uncle Jesse, Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, Dukes of Hazzard.
Dinah Shore's dad on her show.
Okay.
Yeah. Tony
John said he was on the Rifleman.
That's right.
There we go.
That's true. Okay.
You were what? Oh, John was on the Rifleman too. Just
I heard that. Did you ever meet them?
Which episode was that, John?
Good boy.
Oh,
Good boy. Did you ever meet Denver's brother? Hi, Pyle? No, I guess not. It's all right. Never mind. Good. Thank you. Okay.
I think we got.
in his defense,
This has been my end of my career.
okay, I just want you to know that.
Okay.
Well, we got a couple of clips here we found from you from the past. Let's
Please,
get
no
into
more
it.
torture.
Come on, you've done this for this is your
All right,
fourth time now.
what is
Let's
it?
go for it.
Anymore in the
Go on,
big
David,
shorts?
fire it up.
This little handful keeps me running, and that keeps me thirsty. Sorry's for one thing. New improved Nestea iced tea mix. Nestea's as natural as all outdoor. It's no ordinary mix. Just look at that rich color.
No
Tastes as
animals
clear
were
as
hurt in this
sunshine,
production.
too. Because now Nestea slow brews its tea. Then adds just the right blend of lemon and sugar. New slow brewed Nestea iced tea mix. There's nothing like it under the sun.
Isn't that great? Dan, you're a wholesome guy. You love nature. Everybody would trust their kids with you. Can you explain?
Where do you think that was
You
filmed?
get your information.
Stop it. Where do you think that was filmed? We couldn't find a mountain in California that they were happy with. They went all the way to New Zealand to film an American commercial. Okay. And there were plastic ice cubes. The first time we did the shot, I shot the tee down the lake, and the special effects guy took off like he was going for his check and going home. I'm going, what are you doing? He goes, those ice cubes are $1,000 a piece. They're all plastic. That's the end of that.
Well, Dan, you were just such an iconic image there of nature and wholesomeness. Could you tell us, let's take a look at this one, and maybe you could explain this one to us.
All family stuff. Never did anything against family.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dan Haggerty. You know, if you ask me, nature's pretty damn cool. You got trees, you got water, you got more trees. But there's nothing better, and I mean nothing better, than a cool Haggerty smoke. Haggerty smoke's give you exactly what I'm looking for, and that's a kick-ass buzz. Now, you can get Haggerty smoke from the Association department. So you pick up yourself a pack that's totally tobacco-free. I wouldn't worry about the legalities. And the next time you're out in nature, look me up and let's get buzzed together. I'm Dan Haggerty for Haggerty smoke. Rockin', baby. Bring your old lady too.
Well, that's about it, folks. I gotta tell you, I'm going right down the drain real quick.
How did that come about? That was actually part of a film, is that
That
correct?
was from a film I did with Will Ferrell. And he said, I want you to
Did he ever do anything after that?
Yeah, I went to prison in handcuffs. Real quick.
How did you get that bear to be so mild?
Yeah. Well, he saw one of his movies and was in shock.
But you did become pretty famous from this stuff. You've got yourself a star
Where
on
did you get that?
the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yeah, rub it in.
Do you have one of those? Yeah. I'm the only guy to have one taken out of Hollywood Boulevard. I swear to God. They made one for Don Haggerty, an actor in the early 40s. And when the Chambers of Commerce put an order in to have it done for him, the boys who were working for Johnny Grant at the Chamber only knew Dan Haggerty at the time in 1975. And it said Don Haggerty, and now this is a misprint, all we know is Dan. So for 17 years in front of the Henry Fonda Theater, there was Dan Haggerty. My son comes out of the theater one day, drops some lifesavers, he goes, hey, come here, look, that's my dad's name. He goes home and tells my wife, and she goes, the only way your dad would have a star in Hollywood Boulevard is if he put it in himself. And I'm like, oh my God. Well, she took me and she showed me. I said, this is terrific. God love you. And she goes, well, I'm going to call Johnny Grant and find out why you weren't invited. I said, leave it alone. I don't care. Leave it alone. You know, I've had enough trouble in my life after that cigarette commercial. So I go to show it to a friend of mine, and sure enough, he gets out of the car and he goes, man, that's close, but it says Don Haggerty. You gotta be kidding me. Well, my wife had called Johnny Grant and said, why didn't you invite my husband? And he said, to what? To his introduction to the star. He says, he didn't have one. She says, it says Dan Haggerty in front of the Henry Fonda Theater. Well, they took it out, and I didn't know that. And so I was so upset, and a month later, I got a call, and they said, we'd like to invite you to the introduction of your new star. And when I got there, who was there but his godfather, Moses, Charlton Heston. I mean, to bless my star, thank you very much. Sophia Loren. So on the new Walk of Fame, it's Sophia Loren, Paul Newman, Mae West, and Dan Haggerty. Do you have one of those, cowboy? This is done in Velcro. I'll probably be on
This isn't a show me mine, I'll show you yours.
Don't you think we have
Can
a
you spare everybody that?
Unless you guys want to hang out for a while.
This is going to get out of control, isn't it? Well, it almost did, because on the Dean Martin Roast, you got a special award, and you got to kind of love this one.
Yeah, that's why I got blasted in the head by that crazy one over the purse full of
Fired up,
quarters.
Dan.
Oh my God. What an honor this was for us.
Our biggest laugh on the roast was from Ruth Leslie as her Gladys character. And she came out swinging her bag and
Thank you,
killed Dan
Mrs.
Haggerty,
Leslie.
who was the real city at the time, hitting him unmercifully.
So this is for you!
Dean picked her up, took her off stage, and she ran back on. Then somebody else took her off the other side of the stage.
she went out and she hit some guy in the audience. Well, he grabbed her and threw her down on top of the table and got on top of her and felt like he was making love to her.
Stage, and I thought, wait a minute, they're still laughing, let's go further. And I went up to the podium where I know they have these little pieces of pads of paper and pencil, and I ripped the paper off and I went right back down and tried to look sexy. And then he went along with it and he put it on my dress.
And this guy in the audience, of course, it turns out this is your husband. It's the longest laugh we ever had on the show.
Pretty funny. How'd you end up on this roast?
Dean, my wife asked me to leave the house one day, and I ended up in Las Vegas, and I ended up working with Dean and Frank and Sammy before I was doing the series, and we became very good friends. And after I was doing the series, Greg Garrison, his manager, was a Ferrari guy, and I had a shop and kind of tinker with race cars. And one day, Greg called me up and he says, Dean loves you. We were proud of you about doing the series. We'd like to have you roasted on the show. And I said, what an honor that would be, So that was a very pleasant thing. And Dean was a terrific guy, and Sammy and all those guys. And that was when Vegas was really the heyday of all time, when you could hear the silver dollars hitting the slot machines. And it was just really a lot of fun. I had a great time there.
That's great. Great stories, Dan.
I want to ask him something.
Oh, go ahead.
Were you roasted on the Dean Martin roast? I doubt it. Do they even know who you are? Thank you very much.
No, there's no picture of me on the poster or anything. I always try to fly incognito, you see. I'm not the showy type like you.
Well, don't worry about that. Things are going to move right along.
Dan?
I hope that didn't put you to sleep.
Dan, can you stick around a little while?
I'll stick around as long as John's talking.
Okay, we can do that.
All right.
We can do that.
Are you through with him?
Not yet.
Oh.
Not even close. Johnny Crawford, welcome to Malabar Farm.
Thank you.
Well, you got a little background stuff up on the screen here. We talked about this a little bit earlier today. You're born in Los Angeles, 1946. Kind of a Hollywood family from early on. Your brother was involved. You were involved. Tell us how you got involved in television and film and got your career started.
Well, my brother and I were going to Sunday school every Sunday, and we lived very near to Hollywood, and we were crossing the street on the way home after the service, and we were almost run over by a Hollywood agent who was a Sunday school teacher. And so I never thought that anything good would come out of Sunday school, but she got in touch with my parents, and she liked something about us. We were polite when we were crossing the street. I think that was it. And so they asked my parents if she could represent me, and she started sending my brother and I on auditions for acting. And I had only done one play at that time because I was 2.5 years old, or no, I was at that time I was 6. And
you were aging fast.
I did a play, and it was very successful, called Mr. Belvedere, and then I couldn't get another job until I landed the Musketeers, and that happened because I could sing. I couldn't dance that well. I could do a time step. I can still do it.
Like Gabby Hayes.
I'll hold them. Well, John, let's talk about Walt Disney for a little bit. You shared some great stories. You did a lot of work when you were young, but once you got on the studio ground, became a Mouseketeer, you had an encounter with Mr. Disney, did you not?
Yeah, I did. There were 24 Mouseketeers originally, and we were driving the studio security staff crazy because we were taking over. We were taking over, you know, and we were dangerous. He was coming out of the cafeteria as I was running into the cafeteria to meet my grandmother for lunch, and I went up the steps, and just as he was coming out of the door, and he said, "Hi, Johnny." Nice smile, looked right at me, said, "Hi, Johnny." And I said, "Hi." I don't know if he heard me, but I was thrilled that he knew my name, and I ran into got in line, found my grandmother in the cafeteria line, and I told her, "Guess what? Walt Disney knows my name." And she pointed at my shirt and said, "Well, he probably knows how to read." She was cruel.
What a great story.
Yeah, so I lasted one season. Our first day of work was June 12th, 1955. That was the first time I saw Annette and the other guys, the other people. And then my last day of work at Disney Studios was in December. They let me go because I was a problem. And right after the circus that we did at Disneyland, we opened Disney. I was there the opening day, and so I lost my job, and I was on Skid Row for a while. But I made a comeback. My agent felt sorry for me, and she pulled me out of the gutter and started sending me on auditions, and I was able to stay sober enough to make sense. And are you having the hiccups? No?
But I'm having a great time.
Okay.
Did you end up on this show? Is that the show you ended up on?
Much later.
Much later?
Much later in my illustrious career. I got a job in March, and it was a Lux Video production of Little Boy Lost, which had been a movie with Bing Crosby. And I was the little boy that was lost, and I had a French accent, and I never thought that I would want to be a Frenchman, but I did so well in that role. I wanted to be a cowboy, so I thought, well, maybe I can be a French cowboy or something. So I was going to try to go after all those roles, but there weren't many to be found. And so I got...
It's good to specialize, you know, to find your niche.
So, what was the question?
And then you ended up on The Rifleman.
Oh,
Good segue.
Yeah. There I am. I'm right on top of him, right there. And that was the cover on TV Guide. It doesn't say TV Guide.
The Quiet Man.
Yeah.
That's one.
It was the only TV guide that came out without any writing on it.
It's a newspaper. Some one ads.
Yeah, I got the job because I could ride a horse, and I could imitate Johnny Ray, and I could flirt with girls, and I could go to jail. I was versatile.
Versatile indeed. Much was made of your relationship with your pop on The Rifleman. A very special relationship.
Very close. We were very close.
Listen to your palm. We got the photo right up there. And of course you did. And the writing on this show was pretty great. It was originally created by Sam Peckinpah, who went on to do The Wild Bunch, a whole host of.
He wrote the pilot.
And I believe this is episode number 2 after you moved into North Fork and you bought your ranch, and a bad rancher wants that property. And he sends his boys in and they burn your house.
They burned our house down.
Russ, have you ever been a narrator on one of these? It'd be good.
How am I doing? Am I doing okay, Darby?
Yeah,
Okay.
doing some silent film. Okay, go ahead. They burned the house down.
A great example of the relationship in this show.
Was this like the first cooking show?
Yeah. We were
Cooking with Paul.
The Rifle Chef?
Yeah.
But if that's a bed with crib midgets.
He walked good.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's just not fair. We ride halfway across the country looking for the right place, and when we finally got it, well, look what happens. Looks to me like the Lord's dead set against us having our own place.
Help me settle up, boy. I want to tell you a story.
Another story? He's always telling me stories.
A long time ago, in a country so far west it's almost due east of here, lived a big stock ranch with a beard so long it reached down to his belly button. His name was Job. Our Job had 7 sons and 7 daughters, over 7,000 head of fine cattle and sheep, not to mention a considerable amount of camels. Job was top dog with the Lord because he was so hard-working and righteous. The Lord had never lost a chance to brag on him. Made a point of telling the devil about the old man, about how he hated evil, fought temptation, and most important, how he never lost his faith in God. Well, the devil switched his tail and laughed. And he allowed that Job was such a good man because everything was going his way. Just give him some trouble and he'd switch sides in a hurry. Now the Lord thought this over. And then he said he'd give the devil a hard dollar against a penny worth of brimstone, that Job would keep faith with his maker, no matter what trials were put upon him. Well, the devil sent some rustlers onto the old man's stock. Then he called up a big wind, knocked down his house and killed all his children. The old man's beard turned white with grief, but he held steadfast. So the devil reared back and saddled him all over with festering boils. But Job was as miserable as a man could be. He got himself a piece of broken junk, sat out in the corral, doctoring his boils and shaking ashes over his head, and bewailing his fate, wondering why the Lord had forsaken him, until finally 3 of his friends came up. And they told Job that wailing about the situation only made it worse. And it looked to them like he'd sinned somewhere along the line. And why didn't he repent? Job jumped right back at him. He said he'd repent when he had something to repent about. He knew he'd been good and righteous, and while he might complain about his lot, he'd not lost faith in the Lord. Oh, my words were now written and printed in a book, graven with chisel and granite rock forever. For I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand beside me thereon. That's how the old man put it. Well, Mark, the devil was plumb wore out, so he just tossed in his chips and quit the game. The Lord was so proud of Job that he restored all the old man's children and his house and his camels and sheep, and he gave him over twice as many cattle as he had before. And Job lived 140 years, happy as a bird dog, and finally died, being old and full of days.
Makes our troubles look kind of piddling, don't it? But I get...
It's a pretty great acting, great writing, good TV.
And ladies and gentlemen, I present Job. Not bad for 140.
I feel good today, but I'll get over it. I'll be all right.
Dan's been a real trooper. Thanks, man. Well, hey, there was another great character actor on that show. We've talked about him a little bit before. A fellow by the name of Paul Fix, a great character actor. terrific roles going all the way back to Red River, one of the earlier great westerns. And you see him up there in the top right in the 1960s Star Trek era. Bottom right picture, he played the judge in To Kill a Mockingbird. What was it like working with Paul Fix?
It was wonderful. He was a real seasoned actor. He'd been in films since 1922, and he was very down-to-earth, wonderful guy with a great sense of humor, and he loved telling stories. If you asked him if he worked with somebody, usually he did, and he had a story about everybody that he had worked with. He was good friends with Clark Gable. They were doing extra work in the mid-20s and doing plays up and down the coast, the Pacific coast. And he had a friend that was also struggling, Stu Irwin. The three of them would go to the Griffith Park, and they were so poor they each one had one club, and they would look in the bushes for a ball. And one day Clark Gable showed up with a new car and a new set of golf clubs, and he set it up and took a swing and landed on his can. He was joking with him, you know. So you had to be there. So anyway, yeah, I would show you how he did that, but I don't really know how he did it.
Clark Gable?
Clark Gable.
Yeah, I remember working. I love that guy. Yeah, man. It's just quite bad. That little twitch. Every time I look at him, he had a little twitch.
Yeah. Paul Fix had a twitch. He would tell these stories and he'd start laughing, and he couldn't finish the story sometimes because he would remember, you know, the scene and everything, and everybody around him would be laughing. He was just so entertaining, and he had a twitch, and it never showed when he was acting. It was, you know, great, but as soon as the director said cut, he would start doing this. And then the director would say action. So he was wonderful.
So are you. You are wonderful. I love you. You're adorable.
Stay away from me.
Okay. I will.
Honeymoon's over, I think.
I guess so. John, you worked with some other great actors, like all you guys did. But just throwing in some background photos here. Here's a shot of you with, of course, Sammy Davis Jr. Let's see if we get to move through a couple of others here. Michael Landon, of course, one of your earlier episodes, saved your life when you fell off a cliff, risked his own, broke his leg. There, the young Michael Landon.
You don't have the picture of James Coburn or the other actor that was John Haggerty.
But he always
John
played morticians and funeral directors.
John Carradine?
John Carradine, yeah.
What an actor he was. I worked with John.
Yeah.
Every one of his sons was from a different wife. Yeah, David Carradine was from one wife, Keith is from another wife, Bobby's from another wife. Old John got around. You want to stay away from somebody, stay away from John.
And of course, here's a picture of a young Dennis Hopper, an early episode. Now, of course, well, we talked about this gal a little bit earlier, Cheryl Holdridge, one of the Mouseketeers, and we saw that MeTV commercial.
Old memories?
Old dreams.
We're going back to the home.
The bus leaves in 5 minutes.
Be under it. But that's how he got discovered. He got ran over by a Sunday school teacher.
Well, she was a lovely gal. And any stories to share about Cheryl, working with Cheryl, either on the Rifleman or as Mouseketeer?
Oh, she was beautiful.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Let's move on to Richard. Let's move on to Richard Boone, shall we?
I think you should just give him a moment.
Okay. Okay. Well, here's a fella that some folks might recognize, and this would be from which show, John?
Donna Reed show. I played.
And who is this? Who knows who this is?
Paul Peterson.
Paul Peterson. Now, Darby, you work with him. John, you guys are both involved with his organization. A minor consideration.
Yes. Yes, I am. Good guy.
Want to tell us a little bit about that? Either one of you?
Paul is helping child actors, and he's formed a great organization called Minor Consideration. And we go up to Sacramento. Actually, Paul has been honored by the UN now for his child rights and his work in it. And we changed a lot of good rules. You know, we got school teachers. When Johnny and I were going to school, they were called welfare workers because they weren't even qualified. I shouldn't say qualified. They weren't even certified teachers. And we went in and changed that to make sure that they have real teachers. One of the biggest problems on the set, and I'm not going to get into this because I could go. One of the biggest problems for child actors. Well, first of all, if you're working with an animal on the set, as you all know, Dan, you have a book about this thick, about the rules and everything, the regulations about what you can do with animals. You get a kid on the set and it's about this thick. So the one that's supposed to protect the kids on the set, make sure the director isn't saying go stand next to that explosion or stand on top of the car while you're running through a wall, is the teacher. Unfortunately, the teacher or welfare teacher is hired by the producer. So it gets to be kind of a little vicious circle there. They don't really want to call foul on their producer because they're not going to get hired again. So we've gone in and done things like that. And the other thing I'm very proud about is the kids on Broadway who started an 8 o'clock performance in the evening, work, don't get out of there until about 10, 10:30, home at 11. They have to get up the next morning for 8 o'clock to be at school, do school all day, and then show up at the theater again and work. And that was just the way it was. We went, stepped in there and made sure that just like actors on the set like we had, the kids have to have 3 hours of school with a tutor. So, you know, their whole day in life isn't taken up by that. So anyway, just Paul is a wonderful person. He really saw me. We have a little bit different view. I love acting. I love being in the business. I love hanging out with crazy actors. Paul didn't have a good experience, and he's helped a lot of kids that haven't, that have been pushed into business. And the one thing we share a lot in is we've lost a lot of good friends. A lot of actors that were on the set. And Paul finally got me when the young boy that we both knew from Ghost and Mrs. Muir at age 30 or something went back to his high school and hung himself on the fence and put a note in his pocket. What happened? Everybody used to love me. Everybody liked me. They wanted to be around me. Nobody's here anymore. So anyway, that's my homage to Paul. He's just stepping down. Young Scotty Schwartz from The Christmas Story is stepping up. But he's a great guy. He's done a lot for kid actors.
Tell him everybody from the Mansfield, Ohio area says hello.
You got it.
You work with this gal, but I'm going to get back here to Johnny. This is Barbara Stanwyck.
Oh, is it?
Is it?
Oh, boy.
And you're playing it.
Oh, that was her?
That's what the slide says.
Well,
Anyway.
I just remember working with this actress that had a black outfit. And it was Barbara Stanwyck? What did she do?
That's what you're here to tell us, man. But you were playing a sheriff or something.
Yeah, That was a long time ago.
Next. Well, can you
I think it
explain
was
this?
a
I found that
silent
this was an interesting one. Village of the Giants.
We were mountain climbing in Yosemite.
The things you have to do as an actor.
Tommy Kirk, Johnny Crawford, Ron Howard.
Ron Howard, I heard that name.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. No. Well, not too many people can say they worked with the Duke. And here's, I got my dates wrong apparently. I thought this was 1969. You corrected me this afternoon. 1967, El Dorado?
67.
Yeah, El
Are you
Dorado.
gonna believe what Johnny says after he didn't know Barbara Stanwyck?
Not after this weekend.
It might have been 66, but we filmed it, my role, in October of 65, and I got drafted while I was on location in
I know you
Tucson.
served in the Army. I had a picture in here earlier of you and Regis Philbin, but we're not going to talk about that today.
They asked me to leave after 2 years.
I'm sure the Army's never been the same, what can I say? Well, Dan, you want to fire up this clip for us? El Dorado, 1960-something.
I have 3 scenes in the movie. This is the second scene. I wish you could have seen the first scene. I was awake in the first scene. And he was minus 1 lung.
You were minus a stomach.
He was working with 1 lung.
Don't shoot no more, mister.
I think he got me.
I mean, have a look at it.
It's bad, isn't it?
Ain't good.
Inside's feeling good on fire.
Good.
And I'm wearing the chaps that he wore in Red River. That's true.
What's your name, son?
McDonald. Luke McDonald. I can't stand it.
Kevin McDonald, boy?
He kept messing up his line, and we had to do it over and over again. Each time
Don't move me. Please don't move me.
he apologized. Each time, and he said, "Do it once more, John. I'll get it this time, but don't smile."
Touch me.
Told me not to smile.
Well,
Was I smiling? I smiled.
Here it comes.
there were 2 shots, Bob.
That's R.C. Armstrong.
I'll be back by now. I know that.
Good.
That was me.
Well,
Oh, Luke could be in bad trouble.
if he is, we won't be any help to him now. We're there to warn us. Rumors. They're here with us in cover. So, some of them places out that shit. Don't say my head up, boy. Danny, will you quick, come here. Over behind that boy. Yeah, get in the house.
Dan, do you know that actor?
Yeah, R.C. Armstrong and Danny Lapiatas.
This is my 3rd scene.
Are you awake here?
Some of his best work, don't you think?
Where did you learn to ride a horse? In France?
Tough cowboys over there.
Matt, over that one. Don't do anything I say.
This is called I was really into this role.
Is that called method acting, John?
I like the head movement. You're really going with the...
Did you have lines written on your hand?
It's a really good
Kevin
acting.
McDonald.
Come out and get your boy.
He's dead, ain't he?
He's dead.
Does he look like he's anything else?
Looks like
Johnny Crawford and the great John Wayne.
Have come out and get your report.
Well, John, you went on and became a teen recording star, a teen idol. Had a great...
I forgot about that.
You did it this afternoon, too, but that's okay. But anyway, you clearly had a love of music, and you spent the last many number of years working with a whole different genre, forming the Johnny Crawford Dance Orchestra. Tell us a little about that 20s and 30s music and how you got into that and your orchestra.
Well, I always liked, was fond of the music from the 20s and 30s. And not just the songs, but the orchestrations, the way they were orchestrated for dancers. And I inherited a stack of 78s from the 1920s and very early 30s, and listened to them when I was very little, and I learned all the songs, and I would sing them for people and drive them out of the house, and play the same record over and over and over again. And I imagined one day I would have an orchestra that sounded like those orchestras of that period, you know. And I started collecting orchestrations in the 1920s and 30s. They sold a lot of sheet music, and they sold orchestrations of popular songs. Try to get an orchestration of any popular songs today. But anyway, there were great orchestrators, and so I finally I sang for 2 years in New York with Vince Giordano's band. He has a vintage style dance band, and he did all the music for Sidewalk. The series Empire? No? You know what I'm talking about? What was it called? Boardwalk Empire. Yeah, and so that was a great experience, and I decided to come home and find some musicians and have my own dance band. And I've been doing it for 22 years now, and I love it. I provided the orchestra for the Art Directors Guild 17 years in a row, and I can't wait to get home and do some more work with that. We're going to have another album out pretty soon, and there you are.
And there you are. And this is the CD that's available on Amazon. Wonderful. Sweeping the clouds away. The music is terrific, as my own family can attest. They've certainly heard it many times. But John, we also used that music to some of the background music today while you were coming in. And there you look at that. You're a great technical director today. And also, John was kind enough to allow us to use it as our background music in 2012 again on the 2012 DVD. So thanks for that, John.
Thank you.
Darby Hinton.
Ooh,
How are you?
Where? Hi.
How are you?
Good.
The Daniel Boone Show and a host of other things. Tell us about yourself, Darby.
I was born a poor black child. I was born in Santa Monica to an actor. My father was in a lot of westerns. He was in the business, as you heard, with the Tyrone Power connection. What else do you want to know about me?
What, you need notes to tell us about your background?
Yeah,
Oh, man.
I want to know, when did you change your hair color?
I didn't. The guy upstairs changed it for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
From blonde to gray like the rest of us? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh.
And he's still changing it. I love it. You know, I want to thank all of you for coming out. This is really wonderful that you guys come out, sit in the barn, listen to a couple of old guys just throw stories around, and that you keep this kind of TV alive. Because I know a lot of you come up and told me that you feel like I feel that this was some really good television with some good family values, even if it was a man living in the woods with a bear. It was a girl. But I just want to thank you all before we say anything else. I'll try to keep it as short, but still tell you what you want to know. So now that the rain's come and cooled everything down for
Yeah,
us.
it's been a whole lot nicer than the last 3 times we did this.
This is my mom.
Your mother had beautiful eyes.
Yes, she did.
Gorgeous eyes.
She did. All right, so you wanted to know this was my mom. I had two older sisters. They both started in the business when they were a year old. Started doing commercials and televisions and stuff. So when I came around, they would ask my dad, well, your son now, he just born, very good, you know, is he going to be in the business? Oh, I don't know, that kid's a bum. He's 2 months old and hasn't earned a dime. 3 months old, hasn't worked for it. And he loved to tell this story. And it drove my mom crazy. So she managed to go out and get me on Playhouse 90, where I came out at 6 months old in Jane Mansfield's arms. She didn't tell my dad that we were working on it or anything. Made him stay home, watch this, we got a friend on it, you're really gonna like it. You know, he was supposed to go play golf or something. No, just stay and watch this. Okay, I'll watch it. So he sat there, watched the whole thing, and at the end of it turned to her, Marilyn, you should know how to ruin a good joke. So that was it. That's how I got into the business. Everybody asked me, you know, what did I do to get in the business? I laid in Jane Mansfield's arms, which I would probably still do today. But that was it, and then unfortunately I lost my father within 6 months after that. Before I was a year old, we were vacationing as the family in Catalina, and 20th Century Fox called him up. They had a movie they wanted him to do. If you can get here right away, we want to start on this production. So he rented a seaplane, a little charter plane that was there, to take off and get him back to 20th. And before he left, though, after they took off, he told the pilot to circle the harbor one time so that he could wave goodbye to us, because the whole family sitting on the end of the dock, you know, waving goodbye to him. And the plane came around and turned around, and now that I'm a pilot, I know what happened. For years I couldn't figure it out. But they have something they call the California eddy there, which is the wind that comes all the way across the Pacific and then hits the island, and it curls over the top, just like the waves do in the ocean. So when that little plane came around again, it caught that air current, and it just pushed the plane right into the side of the cliff and smashed it. So that was that. And my mom decided, with two older sisters and being a single mom, she never remarried, that it'd be good to keep a lot of, boy, I'm laughing with Dan sitting next to me, keep a lot of positive role models in my life. But she thought acting would do that. And it was a way to do that. So she kept me in the business, and that's why I stayed acting.
There you go. This fellow, we talked about him a little bit earlier. This would be a rather intimidating character as a godfather, don't you think?
Yes. Not easy having Moses as a godfather.
That's what he looked like when I got my star. I'm like, this is good, baby.
Well, you got the hair for it now, Dan. They can have it. Anyway, you had some other interesting neighbors that I think we all know on a national stage.
Jajo, 2 doors away, we were up in Bel Air, and she was 2 doors away. We got along fine until a pet monkey I had broke into her house and totally trashed the place. I mean, when she walked in, he was in the kitchen with a bag of flour, throwing the flour all over, had knocked over fish tanks, everything. And she knew it was us because my mom grew up German family, very strict, only child. Wasn't allowed animals, wasn't allowed anything, so she couldn't say no to us. And I had foxes, raccoons, wild boars, everything, and monkeys. And I didn't like to cage them that much. I figured if I was treating them right, they'd just hang around me. And I lived up on top of a hill, so we could kind of get away with that. But that was it, and then yes, my godfather. And then where we filmed Danny Boone was the dark and bloody grounds of Malabar. And out there next to the ranch, Mr. President and Nancy had a ranch. So Ronnie and Nancy would come over a lot of times because they were good friends with Bess through their acting connections. And so they would ride over a lot of times and have lunch with us. As Johnny and I were talking about earlier, it was nice out at the ranch because by law they had to give us minors an hour and a half. So, can I tell you how much trouble I got into in an hour and a half on that? We were talking about the Fox Ranch and where he shot and where I shot. I shot a place called 20th Century Fox Ranch, which is now a state park. But back then it was anything Fox had going. They had the MASH unit, they had everything. And we had been away for a while, and I hadn't shot there, and I kind of considered this my backyard. I knew what was going on. I was a kid. And I would bring out my mini bike, because I had an hour and a half where I could take off in the hills. Because other than that, I was a city boy, and you can't really ride any dirt bikes or mini bikes. So I used to have a lot of fun on that dirt bike riding around. Well, I come up on a hill one day, and I come around and I look, and there's this whole strange little village that I hadn't seen before. There's a whole set they put up, and I'm looking at the back of it, which is just the facade, so I'm, of course, curious what the front of it looks like. So I go tearing down the hill, go around the bend, and I come up around the road, and as soon as I get around the corner between the buildings, there are all these apes standing around with a net, and my godfather up in the net, and I can't slow down, so I'm zooming right underneath them, and I'm like, and I hear, cut, cut, cut. I'm going, maybe they won't know it was me. I got the coonskin cap on, the fringe, but I went back and tried to hide the bike and pretend it wasn't me, and that didn't work. I was never allowed to have the bike out on the lot again.
Planet of the Apes. I love it. Great story. Now, you mentioned this gal earlier.
There she is, Jane Mansfield. I mean, that's where I started my career. How could I give it up?
6 months old now? What were you here?
No, this was older. This was at the Racket Club in Palm Springs, where actually all the Hollywood big stars used to go. There was a very closed community. And
I thought this was a great photo. We all love Lucy, and so, well, the story you told earlier, maybe you didn't love her so much.
Well, the only reason I didn't get along with Lucy is this was in Hawaii. Our families were vacationing together. Little Desi and Lucy were there too. These pictures are from my mom's collection. That's why they're all kind of messed up in the corner, because I just found them in the bottom of the trunk. When she passed away, they had all these old pictures. She was always taking pictures. And these are trunks. I still have a couple I haven't gone through. But this was a family trip. But she kept putting the zinc oxide on me and all this sunscreen and telling me I couldn't go out in the sun. And my dermatologist today would thank her, but as a kid, it just wasn't fun.
And here you are, William Frawley, escorting you to elementary school, correct?
Isn't that nice?
What a guy.
Yes, I like the shorts too. I think those are good.
Well, this was not an elementary school. Or was it an elementary school?
No, I think this was on the back lot, and I wasn't even sure what it was. Somebody came up earlier and said they probably thought it was My Three Sons, because that was the name of the high school. I don't know if anybody else here remembers it that well, but evidently he played the uncle, so this was an episode of that. A lot of the things I did, I don't remember. They pop up on television. I'm like, that guy looks familiar.
Well, and all this stuff came up by hitting the internet, going to Google and typing in Darby Hinton. So there you go. Lots of stuff out there.
As long as that's not all that came up.
Well, you'd be surprised. Okay, Barbara Stanwyck, she shows up again in your life.
Barbara Stanwyck, it was wonderful. Yeah, a big ballet I got to do with Barbie, young Linda Evans, gorgeous in it. And a young, fresh New York actor named Richard Dreyfuss played my older brother.
You want to share that story again? That's a great one. I love it.
You just like that story because he tried to kill me, right? In Hollywood, one of my pet peeves is when you go on an interview and they ask you, can you shoot a gun? Like they ask you, can you ride a horse? Can you surf? And actors will say yes to anything just to get the part. So when we were casting this, I wasn't casting, when they cast this, they asked young Richard Dreyfuss, can you drive a team of horses? Oh, sure, I can drive anything. I've been driving horses my whole life, no problem. He was a New York actor that had just come. He didn't know which end of the horse to feed. Okay? So they put us out, team of horses, in a buck wagon. It's him, he's at the reins. There's a little girl sitting between us that played my sister, and I'm on the outside. Now, the whole scene is a very simple scene. Here's the wagon, we're sitting like this. We have to pull up to maybe where that speaker is. Stop, say hi to the Barclays, get out, go into the house. No problem. So we get there, we're all ready, they get in the reins, and they say, action! And he does the only thing he's seen on TV. Yeah! So the horses take off, the wagon takes off, we're knocking reflectors over, lights, grips, people are running. He drops the reins because he doesn't know what to do now. And we're taking off across the Disney Ranch, just going crazy. Fortunately, there was a wrangler on a horse that jumped on his horse and did the whole Roy Rogers pulling up and pulling the team down. But Yeah, he almost killed me that day. And I kept that over Ricky's head for a long time.
Great story. Great story. And lots of child actors you worked with. We talked about.
You know what
this
series
before.
they were on, right?
Yeah, the young kid on the right. What was his big show? Lost in Space.
Lost in Space, that's right.
And he was that mean kid on the Twilight song. You remember that one? I'm going to put you out in the cornfield. Remember that?
Yeah, oh no. Billy did a lot of good work. Angela, this is something we did recent. This was the 20th Century Fox Schoolhouse. We all had our separate teachers. We had to have 3 hours of school a day, not in a row. They tried to keep it about 10 minutes or 15-minute increments.
Before 4 o'clock.
Yeah, before 4, you're right. Forgot about that. So they would, come and get you, go work, go back. But if you weren't working, if I wasn't in Malibu or at Sunset and Western Studios, then we would come on the Pico lot, and there would be one schoolhouse where any minor, anybody under 18, would be going to school at the time. So we really had a lot of very interesting kids and people come through that schoolhouse.
John Provost, a friend of yours, Lassie.
Yeah, this is, like I said, my sister, Darcy, my oldest sister, she stayed in it till she was about 21, moved to Hawaii, got married, and there were only so many Hawaii 5-0s she could do. My other sister, Darren, she was in the business till she got to about 11 and stopped liking older people telling her what to do. So she got out of the business. But yeah, that was a great one. Lassie they did, and what I love is that's a picture of my father there in the short sleeves holding my sister. And the other thing I love about this photo is typical Hollywood photo. Here's the set, Lassie, here's the grassy, great fields they're in, and then behind the backdrop are all the lights and sets coming down, heating us up.
The magic of Hollywood. Well, we don't.
TV Guide.
Where are we back to TV?
With the words right on it. Amazing.
I hate you.
Well, you had a sister on that show, and she went on to do many things. Well, do you still see her? Veronica Cartwright.
Veronica Cartwright, wonderful. Went on to do Body Snatchers, Aliens, just a ton of things. Was also in The Birds before we did. She had a great story about her. Yeah, Veronica's wonderful. Great sister. Had her for 2 years, and then she just kind of disappeared. Went away.
That kind of happened a bit on Dan.
Well, the producers, so many people have asked me this, and I haven't given the answers. For years, the producers told me the reason she left the show was because she asked for too much money. And they kept reminding my mom and that, hey, Veronica asked for too much money, you're out of here if you start asking for too much money. So we stayed fine. And that's what I lived with my entire life. When the DVDs finally came out, and Fess invited us all up to the Vineyard for a reunion and for the opening of the DVDs, Veronica and I went out to dinner. And we were having drinks and talking, and I said, yeah, that was such a shame. You left the show, I was having fun with you. And I guess she asked for too much money. And she just laughed at me. She goes, no, we didn't ask for too much money. That wasn't in us. What do you mean? And she goes, well, what happened was, she said, do you remember the episode where she fell in love? There was young Robert Logan on it. And Robert Logan gave her, a big kiss, and there was this romantic thing. I hope I'm not telling stories out. I told you, everybody's been asking me, I've never.
This is the first time we've heard this.
This is the first time. So, evidently, the next day after that airs, Pat Blair, who plays our mom, comes on and goes, oh, no. I do not have a daughter old enough to be the romantic interest in this. Either she goes or I go. So that's how all of a sudden she disappeared overnight. And there you have it. Poor Pat, I'll probably be shot for telling that, but at least that's how I heard it from Veronica. Because Veronica said, no, we loved doing the show. We were very happy there.
There's a story no one's heard before. Wow. Now you work with some other great characters.
Jimmy Dean came on after Ed Ames left.
Big Man John, a great singer.
Great singer, great comedian. Pretty good breakfast sausages.
Yeah, that's right.
Good guy.
Rosie Greer.
Rosie Greer came. He used to be on the Rams, the front line. They call him the fearsome foursome. And he was this big brute of a guy. I'm getting off on another story. He tried to teach me how to play football once. when I was on the show. Now remember, I was like, 11 years old, about this big. And at lunchtime during those hour-and-a-half breaks, we got little football games and stuff with the crew. And he goes, okay, Darby, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fake the ball this way, and then I'm going to turn and hand you the ball this, and you run that way. Okay, let's go, let's do it. So he turned this way, he turned that way, and implanted the ball in my stomach, lifted me about 3 feet off the ground and doing it. And I came down in a crumb. They didn't want me playing football with Rosie after that. But a real gentle giant. When he shared the story, he was Bobby Kennedy's bodyguard. And one time on the set when we were just talking, he shared the story of me about how when they were going through the kitchen, he was one of the ones that tackled Sirhan, and he was actually the one that broke his fingers and pried the gun out of his hand. And here was this huge football player that was just tears coming down his face talking about it. So I love Rosie. He's a minister now. We hooked up again, and he's got some great gospel music. Good guy.
Great story, thanks. And well, the lovely Patricia Blair, Lou Mallory on the Rifleman of Course. Your mom on the show, you got any memories about Patricia?
Yes, the first woman Johnny and I shared. As moms, where's your mind? Come on. Yes, no, she did the Rifleman first and then came over and did Boone. She is.
Lovely lady. And then Ed Ames, the wonderful Ed Ames, had a big recording career with his brothers, lots of albums, great voice. You shared a story. Was it you who shared the story about how he got the Mingo part? Or John, did you tell me that one?
I have no idea how he got the Mingo part.
Well,
I barely knew how I got the part.
Well, the story I heard was that he played the Indian chief in Broadway's production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And someone saw him play that role. Someone told me this story today, folks, so I'm sharing it for the first time, that he was seen in that role by a producer or persons involved with that show, and they said, we've got a role we think you'd be good for. And that's how they called him in.
Well, I'll go back Beverly Hills, where Ed's living now, and I'll ask him if that's how he got it.
It's just a rumor.
And if he doesn't, he'll come out and show you how to throw a tomahawk.
Well, we're going to find out more about that in a minute. So, anyway, what was it like working with Ed?
Oh, he was great. I mean, Ed was, both Ed, Fess, wonderful people. What you saw was what you got. I mean, Fess wasn't one way on camera and off. He was caring, loving, great morals. He really ran that show. Family always came first. No matter if he came home and the fort was under attack and the Indians, he always came home, checked on the family, gave Becky a kiss. I couldn't have picked a better surrogate dad growing up.
That's great, and he had some very special skills that we're going to see.
Oh, man, yes.
Johnny Carson, some of you may remember this. Danny.
What is the trick on it? You underhand? No, the overhand. The overhand throw, the trick is to keep your arm extended, and that way you break the microphone. Now, you keep your arm extended and put only one revolution on the once around on the way. But that's indefinite.
To date on television. On television, everything has to happen, no dead air. They let that thing go. That was the longest laugh. And the most requested replay for Johnny. And Johnny, after a while, wouldn't do it anymore. And then he saved it for his final night when he said goodbye and signed off there, he said, okay, one more time, we'll see this.
Great stuff, and I'll bet the set of Daniel Boone was never the same.
Oh, no, we let that one lie. We didn't give him a hard time at all.
That's great. Well, you did an awful lot of great work, Darby, with Wagon Train. How about that little situation on Mr. Ed you told me about earlier with Wilbur? Want to share that story again?
Okay. First show I remember doing, remember I started young, was Mr. Ed. And I think the reason was because I watched Mr. Ed. I loved that show. I thought it was great. So they hired me to be on it. I was excited. The scene, I'm supposed to kick Wilbur in the shins. I'm like, I can't kick Wilbur. Like, oh, no, it's no problem. I said, so they brought the prop man over and they showed me the metal shin guard that he's going to have on. And they're in the makeup and they're, see, you can't, don't worry, you can go ahead and kick this. Because you got to remember back then there were no tennis shoes. We're talking penny loafers, hard-soled shoes. And I'm like, oh, okay. And, of course, I wanted to do good, too, because this was a show. So we were doing the dress rehearsal right before we shot. I said my line. I hauled off and kicked him as hard as I could. And he hadn't put the shin guard on yet. So he's just, and he's yelling and screaming. And I'm like, and oh, my God, it was traumatic. And then like, okay, well, calm down. Now, put the guard on. All right, now, come on, do it. I can't kick Wilbur. Like, no, now you can kick him. And I would say my line and go, no, now they're getting madder at me, and but I finally did it. I finally hauled off and kicked Wilbur.
And always good with your career.
Well, I kicked him too, because I found out how they really made Mr. Ed talk. You hear the rumors about peanut butter and stuff like that. Oh, no. Nay. The way they got Mr. Ed to talk was they got a big wire and strapped it around his ass. And they would cinch that wire up and he'd and that's how they got Mr. Ed to talk. That's also how they get Dan to talk. You have been very good.
Cinch that wire, will you, Darby?
The wire's loose.
Yeah, I took your mic off, so you couldn't talk.
Well, then you almost, was this separated at birth, or this is your good buddy Tom Selleck? Are these your Tom Selleck peers here?
Yeah. Look, Tom and I are great friends. I don't know how he became, my mom adopted him actually, and helped him a lot in his earlier career. Yeah, when he was studying with Milton Casalas, we had the same teacher and stuff. And actually, one of my sisters had a big crush on him, of course.
Hard to imagine that.
Yeah. And he was, because my mom also acted as an agent and helped a lot of people. Tom came to her when he had been hired to do the pilot of Magnum, and they weren't sure if it was going to go. And then right away, Spielberg wanted him for the Lost Ark, Raiders of the Lost Ark. And he really wanted to get out of that, and he kept trying to break his contract. And he came to my mom and asked her, I was there for the conversation, how do I get out of this? What can I do? I think he's going to be a really big director, Spielberg. He was right about that. And my mom's one that said, no, stay there. Hawaii Five-O's off. Everybody loves Hawaii. Go there. The show will run for a long time, and you'll have steady employment. And he's thanked me a number of times for telling him that.
He's done pretty well. And of course, you went on to, there it is, your own Magnum moment.
There we go, packing heat from Texas to Malibu Beach. I mean, how could you turn down a part like this? They were giving me real race cars with police blocking off the street to drive up and down. Pretty women, civil dandy. It's become a little cult classic. It embarrassed the heck out of me when it came out because I didn't know it was going to be quite so revealing. But, I look back on all this stuff now. It was just a fun time.
Sometimes life is just good.
It's good. I did do a couple scenes with those women going, they're paying me to do this. That's amazing.
Well, today you're out working in Los Angeles on a regular basis in this role. You want to tell us about The Manor?
This is a play called The Manor. It's about a guy named Charles Doheny, who in the 20s was the richest man in the world. He was the one involved in the Teapot Dome scandal, which was the first scandal to bring down a U.S. president. And he still has a mansion, a little 52-room mansion with an indoor bowling alley and everything that he built for his son up in the hills overlooking Beverly Hills. And we got permission to go in and do this play in the actual mansion, which is great because you usually don't get to go in. They said in the beginning when we did it, we'd be doing 4 performances. This winter when we bring it back, it'll be the 13th year that I've been doing this production. So it's a great production. If you get a chance to see it, it's really fun.
And of course, you can be seen on TV today.
Monday night, I think, is the final night.
Is it?
Yeah, if you haven't had a chance
President
to get this
Texas.
series, it's a great Western. When I got the script, I was just thrilled. And actually the way I got the script was, because I was very happy doing the play in LA. I have 5 kids. For a lot of the earlier ones, during birthdays or times like that, I would be in Romania or Bulgaria or someplace in the world filming. And I started missing my little one. So I was quite happy when I settled into the play. It kind of fed that acting bug in me. I could get that out, but I could also be home. So that's why for the last number of years I really haven't been doing that much. I got a couple commercials, which are nice, but those also film in LA. But then the casting director, Fern Champion, who was nominated for an Emmy for Hatfields and McCoy, and just so many wonderful productions, all the original Up in Smoke, Cheech and Chong films. You can tell where my movie taste is. She came and saw the play and loved it and brought the producer back, and he saw the play and they came and asked me, and how can you turn down? Would you be the first president of Texas in Texas Rising? So that's how I got that role.
And we'll see you on Monday night.
Monday night, yeah, it's great. On the History Channel.
Well, of course, Fess Parker is no longer with us, God bless him. But you'll always be remembered for this, of course, and you are all welcome to sing along.
Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man. You're the eye like an eagle, and it's all that.
Come on, you know the words better than we did.
Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man. He was brave, he was fearless, and he fought for America free, or something like that. To the
Who's the guy in the white shirt?
Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big.
The guy just trying to get through it?
And he fought for America to make all Americans free.
Everybody knows that.
What a boom, what a do, what a dream, come through work was he.
2 wonderful men right there. They're just great.
Darby, thanks a million. Dan, you too, Johnny. If you folks have any questions, now's the time. Any hint? There's one. 1 second.
And thank you, Russ. I gotta say, as you go down and give him the mic, I was a little, thank you. Let's give Russ a hand for putting us all together. Bringing us together, helping, save the fun, and everything. Fabulous job. I was a little worried. When he stopped us off at McDonald's to show us the poster, and I wasn't on it. But you just showed us a wonderful time, and I really want to thank you, Russ.
Well, it's been an honor. Thanks.
John.
Me?
No, Johnny Crawford.
John, yeah, I'll do Johnny. Go ahead.
Okay. There was a Johnny Crawford that had a part in one of the Dirty Harry movies. Was that you?
No, it wasn't. No, that was John Crawford.
Okay.
And he preceded me in joining the Screen Actors Guild, so I had to be Johnny.
I see. Okay.
First of all 3 of you are very handsome men. As child actors and as adults.
What are you giving her a pair of glasses? Stop it, Russ.
My question is, what states do each of you live in primarily? And I have.
Johnny lives in the state of confusion. I live right next door to him. And he lives in Alter States. So there you go.
We all live pretty close to each other in LA.
Have you ever lived in Malibu? Have you heard of Malibu?
Yes.
I don't live anywhere close to Malibu. Nowhere at all. I live in a little place called Sherwood Forest that's out in California, and he lives in a beautiful little place, Studio City, and Johnny lives in La Tuna Canyon, which is
Make sure you give everybody the address so we can all show up for his wife's birthday.
In California.
Yeah, 1780 La Tuna Canyon, beautiful home, free parking, a lot of
My one question is, I saw that you had the humanitarian award for the Harley Davidson or Hells Angels. What was that?
I do a lot of things for children. We have a foundation called Angels Flight in Palm Coast, Florida. And I worked on the movie Easy Rider, and I've been building bikes for a long time. And if you ever see that movie, I'm in the commune sequence, and Dennis Hopper and I lived together for 8 months. I only remembered one day of it, moving in. The rest of it I never remembered. But I've been involved with motorcycles for a long time, and America is kind of a Harley Davidson, ride free, run free, love your kids and have a good time. And there's a lot of people that do have accidents on bikes because California's got more cars than they should, and they just don't see you on a bike. And when somebody gets hurt, you kind of do the best you can to take care of them if you're a motorcycle buff, and that's what we do.
I'm just working my way around here.
Dan?
Yes.
I have a question. You did a mini-series called Condominium.
Correct.
Way back.
Yes,
and
I do.
I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed you in it. Do you have any reminiscence working with Barbara Eden, the rest of the cast in that?
Barbara Eden was a wonderful, beautiful lady, and we were working at Universal Studio one night, and it was on one of the hurricane sequences, and they had a big tank where they kept the shark from Jaws for their interviews and things, and so they'd taken the shark out of the big tank, and we had boats in there, and they turned on the fans, and they had the water going, and we were supposed to take off, and she's right next to me. Barbara said, stop the cameras, stop the cameras. I'm going, it's the hurricane sequence, honey, it's all right. She goes, no, my eyelashes just flew off. Stop it. Will you stop it? Nobody's going to look at your eyelashes. Looks like two ravens flying off out of the studio. And so the special effects guy came over and they said, here, we got to do some work here. And the director came over and patted him on the back, and his false teeth flew out of his mouth. So they had to drain the lake. So we had to wrap up the shoot. So they all let us go home early. And when I turned down the street, that Jaws was there, and I almost had a heart attack because I forgot about it. I drove my car, and there's that Jaws with his mouth open. So Barbara Eden, the flamingos, the false teeth, and the movie was all terrific. Barbara Eden was a sexy little lady, without a doubt. Very pretty woman. Still pretty.
Dan, are you married?
Pardon?
Are you married?
Am I married?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I lost my wife a couple years ago, so that's, I keep her little ashes right here in my bracelet. I've had this on for over 55 years. She was a great gal. I thought, well, I'll just keep her with me, so every time I go somewhere, she goes with me.
That's why I'm considering this proposal that he's made.
I want to ask you a question. Do you want to be?
What did that girl say?
She wanted to ask you a question. She said, do you want to be?
You can follow me home. We'll talk about it.
I was wondering if how you could get some of these series, because they're hard to find, and they hold them up. And it's hard to find them, and so that you watch them over and over again.
It's hard to find what some of the series.
All the series, you know, these and other ones.
Heck, I was selling the DVDs right out there.
Yeah, we got DVDs and plenty of other things that we can give you the whereabouts and how to get them. I mean, Johnny's got them, Darby's got them, I've got them, and we don't get any money from them. I mean, the studio sells them, but if we can help you get what you want, it would sure be fun.
Right off the TV.
Hello?
You can take them right off the TV on there.
Record them right off of TV.
Pardon?
Record them right off of TV.
It's technology. It's something we'll talk to you about later.
Thank you very much.
He doesn't record it.
Okay, I got it. Okay, now
I talked to Dan on the phone.
He still messes with the rabbit ears,
Yeah.
I wanted to send him an email, and he says, when we use the old technology, I'll use a pencil.
What is that? Did everybody enjoy themselves so far? I mean, was it good?
It was really good. I found it right when I came up with it.
Thank you very
I was going
much.
to come with soft stripping off my beard.
I have one for all of you. Do any of your children act?
Do any of your children act?
I wish they would. I wish they'd act like they're moving out. I wish that every time I go home and go, oh, you're back. Thank you very much. My boy did a movie with me called Escape to Grizzly's Mountain, Dylan did, when he was like 10 years old, and he was very, very good. In fact, he was nominated for the Young Entertainer of the Year, and he goes, how about that? And I said, I hope you don't win, you little shit. I mean, but he's a stunt guy. He does a lot of stunts. He worked on Pirates of the Caribbean, and very healthy kids. Darby's daughter just graduated last night. Johnny, my boy Johnny, he's got kids everywhere. They adore him. Anything else from anybody?
Yeah, I got a question. Over here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Johnny Crawford.
Johnny Crawford, right
Johnny
here.
Crawford. Yeah, where was the set, the Lucas Ranch? Where was it primarily filmed?
It was at 20th Century Fox Ranch, which is now Malibu Creek State Park.
Really?
Yes.
And it was just the one set?
Well, this was just the first season. Then we moved the set to another location in Thousand Oaks.
Thousand Oaks.
Yeah. And but I loved. My favorite location was the Fox Ranch.
Malibu Creek.
Malibu Creek State Park, and it's beautiful there, and a wonderful place to visit.
It was when Murdoch bought 20th Century Fox. He gave the ranch to the state, and that's how he got a big tax break for the purchase, and so he could spend all the money in Aspen.
That's where your buddy bought Dean Martin Ranch out there in Lake Sherwood. The guy that Tom Selleck. That's where Murdoch has the golf course and all that stuff, and all the baseball players live out in that area. It's where they shot Earl Flynn's movie, Robin Hood. Yeah.
I got a question for Johnny Crawford. Johnny, I heard you in a radio interview earlier before this. I'm over here. Yeah, and you were talking about Chuck Connors on the set playing baseball. I wonder if you could share that story about it.
Well, I was a big baseball fan, and very excited when I realized that Chuck Connors had been a professional baseball player, and he played first base for the Cubs and the Dodgers. One game for the Dodgers, but he always liked to wear that cap. And they sent him to their minor league team in Los Angeles in 1952, maybe, so he was discovered as a result of that, because he was an extrovert, and he was a great personality, like this guy here. He was eccentric, and he would
used to do cartwheels going around.
Yes,
yeah, I thought so.
If he hit a home run, he would do cartwheels going around. He also played for Montreal, and he played the bad guy whenever they played some other teams, and people would boo him when he was coming up to bat, and so he started bringing hamburger meat with him and throwing it at the crowd. And what was the question?
I think that's it. Any other questions, folks? Do you guys have any questions?
We just want to say from the bottom of our hearts, we really do love you. And it means a lot that you remember people that made you happy, because we don't get that kind of adulation at home like we used to. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.